Sheila Sharp left the residence of her next-door neighbor in the morning of April 12th, 1981, and went back to her cabin at Cabin 28 in the Keddie Resorts in California. What the 14-year-old girl found inside the modest four-room cabin soon became one of the most ghastly sights in contemporary American crime. Her mother, Glenna Sue Sharp, her teenage brother John, his high school friend Dana Wingate, were all found dead inside Cabin 28. The three had either been brutally stabbed, strangled, or bludgeoned. They had been restrained with medical and electrical tape. But most unsettling of all, Tina Sharp, Sheila's 12-year-old sister, was nowhere to be found. This is the unsolved case of the Keddie Cabin Murders. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Horror House. It's Dom, and please, as always, take this as your reminder that you are a lovely, lovely, lovely human being. You are a beautiful person. You're doing amazing things. And thank you, as always, for the support you give this show. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. And you're always supporting, whether you're a day one, whether you're new, whether you've listened. This is your first episode. Hello, welcome. Thank you for the support. We are forever grateful. So today is a very special episode because we have a guest on, someone who has been on the show a few times and is always a joy to record with, and that is the lovely Carly. Carly, thank you for coming on today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem.
Pleasure to be here and hear about this terrible murders. Murders.
Yes, it's pretty grim. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. I'm thrilled. I was sorting through my memory files. I was like, something about this is familiar, but I can't recall any of the details. So I'm actually I'm super excited because I know something about that. I know I've heard it somewhere. I've either watched it on a true crime show or heard it on another podcast, but I did not retain any of the information. So it's brand new.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. And like I say, it's a bit of a grim one. So fortunately for the people that are watching on YouTube, your dog is asleep in the background. Just focus on the dog. It's fine.
It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this together.
We will through it. The dog can be our saving grace.
Dogs everywhere are doing their duty. Mine is actually right behind me.
Right? I was like, that's so perfect. Do not leave the room. Dog,
don't worry.
Stay in
the dog
room.
is here. Stay. Protect me.
So obviously it's a bit of a change to the original plan. Unfortunately, Amy is swamped with work stuff, bless her, and she wasn't able to record today. So fortunately, Carly was able to come on, and we're gonna be talking about an unsolved murder. So I'm very excited. Very, very excited. So, Carly, before we get started, you have had some awesome stuff happen to you recently with regards to some projects. Would you like to share?
I have. My first novel is out now. It's called A Collection of Eyes. You can find it on Amazon. Right now, it's only available as an ebook, but the paperback will be coming soon. And I would love it if you would read it. It's about a serial killer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a project that I really, really love. I've been working on it for quite some time. And then next up the pipe is an anthology of short horror stories that I curated with my friend Mallory Sawinski, who is Coffee, Books, and Ghosts on Instagram. we put out a call for anybody who wanted to submit a short horror story to us, and we made a lovely little collection of terrible things.
I love it.
And yeah, that will be released as an ebook and the paperback on September 18th. And you can pre-order the ebook now. So
Amazing.
yay. Very,
Amazing.
very good things. Yes.
Wonderful. Are you ready to get stuck into this
I
befuddling
am
case?
so ready. Yes.
Wonderful. So Glenna Susan Sue Sharp, born March the 29th, 1945 in Springfield, Massachusetts. I don't know if I butchered that. I have a feeling that
You
I
said
might
it
have
right.
got that.
Massachusetts. You're right.
Massachusetts, good. Leo and Stephen from Spores of Horror, if you're listening, I got that right, so don't come at me. Together with her 5 children, would leave their Connecticut home in July 1979 after divorcing James Sharp, who was her abusive husband. Her brother, Don, was living in Northern California at the time, so she made the decision to move there. She started renting a modest trailer, the Claremont Trailer Village in Quincy, California, which had previously been occupied by her brother. And then finally, the next fall, or for us Brits, autumn, she relocated to Keddie, a small rural tourist town in the Sierra Nevada. The house, which was much bigger than the trailer, was now available since Sylvester Douglas Thomas, the previous sheriff of Plymouth County, vacated his residence. I was going to say it's probably not that difficult for a house to be bigger than a trailer.
Hey, I was thinking that this is like before the tiny house craze. So, especially in America where everybody wants bigger and better houses. I feel like that started in the 80s where
Yeah.
it was like, let's build these monstrosities and call it
Let's
home.
build these
Yeah,
monstrosities.
I don't know how hard it would be to have a house bigger than a trailer unless it was a massive trailer. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe it was like a deluxe king size trailer, like this
Maybe like
palace on wheels.
yeah, it could happen.
So in this new house, she would reside with her 15-year-old son John, 14-year-old daughter Sheila, 12-year-old daughter Tina, and her 2 younger sons Rick and Greg. That's way too many kids in one place. I'm sorry.
That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids. I have 3 kids, and I feel like that's a lot of kids. That's like, the name just kept going on and on and on. That's a lot of kids. I know people with 5 kids, so but when you hear
Can't
it
do it.
listed like that, it really is like, wow,
Yeah, yeah,
so
100%,
many.
100%. I mean, and to be fair, that's not the most. We've had a few cases where someone's, been like, I've just reeled off like 10 names, and they're all their children, and it's like, why would you do that to
So many,
yourself?
so many. Adults Against Spawning, that's my campaign.
Adults against spawning. Oh dear. Put that on a t-shirt and sell it as merch.
It needs to go on a t-shirt. Adults Against Spawning.
Oh dear.
We have enough people.
So Rick was attending baseball tryouts at the Gansner Field in Quincy on April the 11th, 1981 at around 11:30 a.m. Sue, Sheila, and Greg traveled from the home of their friends, the Meeks family, to pick them up. At the canyon's mouth, where they were hitchhiking from Quincy to Keddie, they would come upon John and his friend Dana Hall Wingate. They picked them up and took the 6.8 miles or so drive to Keddie. At around 3:30 p.m., 2 hours later, John and Dana hitchhiked their way back to Quincy, where they might have had arrangements to visit friends. And the 2 were spotted in the city's center about this time. I always cringe, especially during this time period when I hear the word they hitchhiked. I'm just like, don't hitchhike.
There's so many bad stories with hitchhiking. Don't pick up a hitchhiker. Don't hitchhike. Have we learned nothing from Ted Bundy or any of
Exactly.
the others?
Exactly. I'm like, how many active serial killers were there at this time? Like, what are you doing?
It probably
Oh
was
my
just so easy
lord.
for them too, because nobody locks their doors. Kids could just roam around willy-nilly,
Yeah.
and people were asking
Yeah.
complete strangers for rides. Technically, we do that with Uber now, but, at least they're verified. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's true though, like the amount of times I'll watch like a murder documentary on Netflix or something, and it would be like one from the 70s or the 80s, and they'll be like, oh, during this time period we didn't lock our doors and our neighbors just like freely walked in, and it's like, well, that's the fucking issue. Lock your door. What are you
Lock
doing?
lock your doors. Lock them. Keep them locked. It's like it happens regularly here that I grew up with it grilled in my head to always lock the door immediately
Yeah.
after you when you come inside. So it's a pretty commonplace thing for someone in this household to like walk outside to like throw the trash away or something, come back and the door's locked because someone else has wandered by and been like, "Why is the door unlocked?" Like,
It's so bad. Like
it happens.
even when I like take out the bins and leave the front door open, I'm literally outside for about 10 seconds and I'm looking around being like,
Yep.
someone might actually walk into my
My brain works the exact same way,
house.
so this makes perfect sense to me.
Oh dear. Sue would remain at home with Rick, Greg, and the boy's young friend Justin Smart, while Sheila was scheduled to spend the night with the Seabolt family, who resided in a nearby house. Shortly after 8 p.m., Sheila would leave the house, leaving her mother to look after the smaller kids by herself. At around 9:30 p.m., Sheila arrived at the Seabolt's house to spend the night, and Tina, who had been watching television there, would go back to cabin number 28. The scene has been set. The background has been backgrounded. Would you like to dive into the nitty-gritty? Shall we get to the meat
I
and bones?
would. I would. But was this like a campgrounds type thing where like you rented a cabin and there's just like rows of cabins?
I
Or is this
believe so. I
like
believe
a
so.
long-term stay cabin rental thing?
I
Because when
think
you
so.
said number 28, I was picturing just like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, but now I'm thinking like more like summer camp style, but with larger cabins, like
Yeah.
Camp Crystal Lake, but
Yeah.
make it livable.
Camp Crystal Lake, but not like murdery.
But not murdery. Surprise twist, there's murder.
Yeah. Not murdery, but you could also get murdered.
Not murdering, but also never trust a cabin in the woods. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. So Sheila would go back to cabin 28 at around 7 a.m. On the April the 12th, and would find Sue, John, and Dana's dead bodies in the living room. Rick, Greg, and Justin, the three smaller children, were uninjured in a nearby bedroom, while the three older children had been bound with medical tape and electrical cord. The three little, the three younger, the younger children were supposed to have slept through the incident, according to the initial accounts. However, this would later be refuted. Sheila returned to the Seabolt's home as soon as she saw the scene, and Jamie Seabolt quickly rescued Nick, Greg, and Justin via the bedroom window.
This
Later,
is good.
I know, right? That sounds like some superhero shit. Jesus.
Rescuing via windows. Yep. It does sound like some superhero shit. Way to
Right.
go. Way to have so many spawns. That came in handy this time.
But later, he would acknowledge peeking inside the house through the back door to see whether anyone was still alive, potentially tainting the evidence. So that wasn't very superhero behavior, was it?
Nope.
Like, God damn it, Jamie. Like, good. Well done for rescuing the three, but also you tainted
But
the evidence.
also,
Like,
way to
well done.
go. It's unsolved.
This is all your fault, Jamie. God damn it.
That was very hero blamey of me.
So the killings of Sue, John, and Dana were particularly brutal. Two bloodied knives and a hammer were discovered at the crime scene.
Yeesh.
Oh no. And one of the blades, a steak knife, Jesus, was later revealed to have been used in the killings, and had been bent at
So
a
3 knives and a hammer then.
three
Hammers are that's some next level stuff. That freaks me out.
three knives.
Blech.
Not only was it three knives and a hammer, the steak knife was bent at an angle of about 30 degrees. So
Wow.
he was stabby stabby. Stabby
Yeah.
stabby. The living room was the location of Sue, John, and Dana's killings, according to blood splatter evidence found inside the home. Sue was discovered naked from the waist down, gagged with a blue bandana and her own underwear that had been taped together, lying on her side close to the living room sofa. And this is where I realized I probably should have put in some sort of trigger warning because, whoops.
Trigger warning, belated. Here's your trigger warning.
Yes. Trigger warning. I know it's kind of late now, but trigger warning. Yeah, this ain't going to be good. So her spine and chest had been cut, and she had been stabbed in the chest and the throat. On the side of her skull, there was an imprint that matched the butt of a Daisy 880 power line BB/pellet gun. I don't know how big a Daisy 880 power line BB/pellet gun is, but the fact
I
that it
don't either.
left an imprint on her skull.
Yeah. The only thing what's that one Christmas movie with the kid in bunny suit? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
They'll
yeah,
put your eye out.
yeah.
That's my frame of reference for this. So, like, I could see it. I could see it.
Okay, okay. I mean, you're probably right. I just sort of on first glance, I was like,
Yeah.
a
What?
BB gun for that? Like, damn.
Yeah.
Um, so John had his throat cut, and Dana was killed by being manually strangled and had multiple head wounds. A hammer or hammers caused blunt force injuries to John and Dana's skulls. Sue
He's
and Sue and John died from knife wounds and blunt force trauma, and Dana died. Dana passed away from asphyxiation. Oh my god, I
mhm.
got that right. I never get
You
that right.
did.
According to autopsies, that's like one word that constantly trips me. I did that quite
I
well.
have a few of those. Yeah. One of mine is scythe, which I finally mastered it because I just had to record it like over and over again because I kept fucking it up. But scythe, and orphanage. If I'm like, apparently I can say it just fine right now, but when I'm reading it and trying to say it out loud, my brain and my
Yeah,
mouth do things, and
yeah.
I have a whole list of those. I'm forever mispronouncing things.
And I'll find like I do it on like really simple words as well.
Oh yeah,
And I'm just
oh
like,
yeah,
I say this word every day, but
yeah,
yet when I hit record,
yeah.
my you know capabilities of English seem to just disappear.
That's exactly what happens to me, and then I'm like, "Guys, buy my books, I'm an author. I know I sound illiterate, but I know English. I can speak."
So, among all of this carnage, I think it's fair to say, um, it would take the police hours to realize that there was a fourth victim. However, this fourth victim, being 12-year-old Tina, was nowhere to be found.
Poor
Oh dear.
Tina.
Um, a couple residing in nearby house or nearby cabin 16 was awakened at 1:15 a.m. by what appeared to be muffled screaming. Um, Sheila and the Seabolt family, with whom Sheila had spent the night in the neighboring home, did not notice any disturbances during the night. The residence, which had no signs of forced entry, um, was missing Tina's jacket, shoes, and a toolbox with a variety of equipment. The draperies were drawn, the telephone line was off the hook, and the connection to the outlet had been severed. The primary suspect and neighbour, Martin Smart, asserted that his home's claw hammer had mysteriously got up and walked away,
Oh,
essentially.
wow. How handy is that? Your hammer is lost.
Right.
And these people just got hammered to death. They got bludgeoned and stabbed.
Yeah.
That's like way overkill. One of those weapons would have done,
Yeah.
sir. But how handy? How did this guy not get caught? If
Yeah.
he's like living next door is like a hammer. I don't have one of those. It's lost. It's been lost for ages.
Yeah.
Ages.
It's a bit fishy. Obviously, Martin
I'm judging
Smart
him.
has some sort of Disney hammer that just, gets up and walks away whenever it wants to do. Sheriff Sylvester Thomas of the Plumas County, California Police Department, who oversaw the case, later remarked that Martin had offered, quote, endless clues that appeared to, quote, throw the suspicion away from him. So he's looking a little bit sus.
Yep.
He's a bit shifty
Just
at
a
the moment.
little. Just a little, Just a little.
Oh, Martin. So Justin presented different accounts of the events of the evening, claiming to have dreamed about the murders, but later claiming to have actually seen them. He claimed to have awoken to sounds coming from the living room while sound asleep in the bedroom with Rick and Greg in a later version of the story he told while under hypnosis. I don't mean to scoff at this whole giving evidence while under hypnosis.
I'll scoff at it
I
because
just,
you can getting yourself into a hypnotized state, that's a thing. But then if someone you don't know what's been suggested to you is the trouble. You can plant false memories, you can mess with your memories. So yes, could you uncover memories? Technically, yeah, but you would need to do it without an outside influence. And how do you even do that?
yeah,
It's if you're asking questions like that, it's so likely. It's been studied. It's so likely that you're going to remember something wrong or that's not. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm scoffing outwardly. I'm not even going to try to hide it.
So, investigating these sounds, Justin, would see Sue with two men. He discovered Sue talking to these two men, one of whom had a mustache and short hair, and the other had long hair and was clean shaven. And both wore spectacles.
Two
Why did I say
spectacled
spectacles?
murderous men. Two bespectacled men wielding knives and hammers on the cold evening of whatever date this was in the 80s.
Carly's just flexing her author
You know,
author skills right there.
I just feel like two men with glasses. Why is that unreasonable to me? I don't know. I wear glasses. But they can just, it's like that detail though, is just like two murderous men wielding axes, and glasses. Not axes, sorry. Knives, hammers, and glasses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, according to Justin, John and Dana then entered the home and began heatedly arguing with these two spectacled men. A fight would ensue, after which Tina entered the room and was taken out of the cabin's back door by one of these men. Allegedly, a lot of potential evidence was collected at the scene, but unfortunately, this was pre-DNA testing. So very, very little helpful information would be found from this evidence. Oh, that pesky DNA. So high maintenance.
And DNA should really get it together. I don't know what to say about this, but why DNA?
Why? Why must you be this way, DNA? Why?
Why? Just
So Harlan Embry would create a composite sketch of the two unidentified individuals based on Justin's description, which which is great. They're going to get some composite sketches together. They're going to get them out there. They're going to be like, yeah, have you seen these people? Tips will come flooding in. Case solved. Happy days. Well, unfortunately,
Everyone wins.
everyone wins. Well, unfortunately, Harlan Embry lacked artistic talent and didn't actually have a background at all in forensic sketching.
Well, that sounds like a bummer from start to finish. Yeah, well, we really need a sketch artist to come in and take these details. Bring in the new guy. He's never done this before. There's
Right?
literally, this is not high stakes at all. Bring in the new guy. No.
Yeah, it's a bit um it's a bit come on, bit lackadaisical, and we're used to bad police work on Horror House. I think 95% of the cases we talk about, the police are just a bit inept and can't do things properly, or just don't do things at all.
See,
Um, and
hard agree.
once again, this is I wanna know, like, what superintendent was like, cool. So why don't we get a composite sketch together of these two men? And I'm picturing like a boardroom situation. Like the superintendent was like, right, get a composite sketch together of these two men and we'll get it out there and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. We'll bring in someone who's got some really artistic talent, who's done forensic sketching before. It's all going to be good. Um, and then like someone was like, we can't find that. There's no one. We've checked the yellow pages. And we can't find anything.
Can't find a single
Can't
person
find a
who is
single
skilled in the
person.
art of drawing.
Can't find a single person. And then one of them's like, I mean, there's Harlan. He's got no background in forensic sketching, and he doesn't really have that much artistic talent. And the superintendent was like, "Yes, bring
That's
him
the
in."
one. That's the one. Will he do it for free? That's probably what sold it. He's like, we're on a very tight budget right now. How are we
Probably.
supposed to afford this artist? And then that guy's like, I'll do it for free. I can add it to my resume.
So the suspects were described as being in their late 20s to early 30s. One was between 5'11" and 6'2", with dark blonde hair, and the other was between 5'6" and 5'10", with black greased hair in press releases that were published alongside the sketches. And both wore sunglasses with gold frames. So Sheriff Doug Thomas of the Plymouth County Police Department dispelled rumors that the killings were ritualistic or driven by drug trafficking, when he said that no drug paraphernalia or illegal narcotics were discovered in the house the week after the killings. A family friend named Carla McMullen later admitted to police that Dana Wingate had stolen an unspecified amount of LSD from nearby drug traffickers, but she was unable to produce any evidence to support her claim.
Well, that seems like a safe move. There's not so many movies and books on TV shows on why stealing from drug traffickers is a bad idea.
Nothing can go wrong if you steal from a drug trafficker.
Nope.
Absolutely
Perfectly solid plan, if you ask me.
So the case would take over 4,000 man hours to complete, according to Thomas. Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, two serial murders, were ruled out as suspects in December 1983. And it would be another 3 years after the Keddie murders that Tina would be finally found. The FBI initially looked into Tina's disappearance as a potential kidnapping. But on April the 29th, 1981, it was reported that the FBI had backed off the search because the California State Department of Justice was doing an adequate job and made the FBI's presence unnecessary.
An adequate job. Everything about this seems perfectly adequate to me. Of course. The FBI was like, no. Look at the guy they got drawing this composite sketch. Like, clearly, they have it handled.
That's hilarious. Not like Tina's disappearance or anything. That's
Like,
hilarious.
that's terrible. Yeah.
That's terrible. That's atrocious. But it's hilarious that the FBI were like, they're doing all right. We'll we'll leave them. Well, they're doing all right.
They're fine. They're fine. Clearly, they have it in hand. Look at their creative solutions that they've brought up with.
Do you reckon like they sent like the FBI like a case update, and then like all they got back was, "You're doing amazing, sweetie. You're doing so good."
Oh, okay. So the FBI has deemed this. They don't need to come in
They don't
because
need
they're
no,
doing a great job.
no.
Right.
They
Right. Right.
don't need to come into work today because
Nope.
they're fine on their own apparently.
Yeah.
Because they're doing an amazing job getting a very talented sketch artist in, and oh, they're doing so good.
You know,
Amazing.
they're doing so great.
Um, so police hounds would search a 5-mile radius around the residence in a grid layout, but the search was proved to be unsuccessful. A cranial piece of human skull and a portion of jaw were found on April the 22nd, 1984. The county sheriff's office got an anonymous call shortly after making the announcement that the remains, unfortunately, did belong to Tina, but the call was not recorded in the case. A deputy who was given the case at some point after 2013 discovered a recording of this call at the base of an evidence box.
I mean, they've lost so much evidence in this case, just like start to finish. What? There's no recording. Surprise. Guess what? There's a copy of the recording that we just lost in this box and we rediscovered it. How exciting is that? What happened to the original? First of all, did nobody label it?
Jesus.
Like how was this even discovered? Were they like, what the fuck is on this cassette tape? And then just played it and been like, oh, turns out that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh, we found a new piece of evidence. And everyone's really excited, and they're like, oh, we found a recording, found a tape recording. It's really important. And they're like, how long has that been there? And they're just like,
The whole time, don't worry about it. We don't know.
yeah. So they're like, it's not important. Don't focus on how long
Don't
we've had it. We've now got it, right?
you know, celebrate the fact
So
that we
yeah.
found it. Isn't this exciting news, everyone? 2013, we found this tape.
And if anyone says it was at the bottom of a box, they're lying. Don't
They
believe
are so wrong. They're you know what? These 2 podcasters are gonna get online one day and make fun of this, and we just would like to say for the record, we didn't know it was there, and we found it.
it. Oh, dearie me. It is. I mean, it's a bit of a calamity of error, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's real bad.
It's just not great. A child blanket, a blue nylon jacket, a pair of jeans with the back pocket missing, and an empty surgical state dispenser were also discovered by the investigators next to the remains. With that, Tina Sharp's remains had been discovered, and that would make the crimes a quadruple homicide.
Wow.
I know.
Poor little Tina.
So, what about subsequent developments? Well, there have been some interesting tidbits that have surfaced in the years since 1981. But before we get to those interesting tidbits, we're going to go for a little break. Carly, what do you think about a little
I
bit
think
of a
that
break?
sounds great. Perfect.
Wonderful. So go and have a drink, go and have some food, order a McDonald's. I'm not going to judge. I'm probably going to order a Fat Mackey's at the end of this recording anyway. I'm not going to lie. And we will see you back here in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of this befuddling unsolved mystery with absolutely amazing police work. No bad police work found here.
No, The best
Absolutely.
police work. The
Best
best police
police
work
work.
I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed, you know?
Absolutely. And I know exactly who's running. So me and Amy have like this character, Detective McClue, and he is whenever there's bad police work, we're like, yeah, this is Detective McClue. He's running this whole
He
operation,
is, clearly, because he's a professional.
right? He's like the detective from Pink Panther. That's McClue, like this befuddling detective.
With an over large, magnifying glass, that's the word. I couldn't think of what it was called for a second.
But yeah, police work has been leaving a little bit to be desired, is fair to say. So, um, we have some subsequent developments, very exciting. Carly, are you ready to talk about these new developments that have surfaced?
I am so ready. I'm so ready.
Awesome. So Marilyn Smart, who is the wife of Martin, who had the wandering hammer, and
Yep.
couldn't
The
believe it,
missing hammer.
the missing
That
hammer.
was not at all suspicious at all.
Um, so Marilyn would state in a 2008 documentary about the killings that she believed her husband and his friend John Bubaid or Bubeed, whom author Robert Scott incorrectly identified as John Budi, were actually behind the killings.
So there really was 2 of them.
I don't know, don't know what happened in that marriage. In that marriage, to
Go
bring
on a
that up.
documentary and say, "Yeah, pretty sure my shitty ex-husband murdered a whole bunch of people with his friend and
Yeah.
his missing hammer."
Marilyn would state that she left Martin and John at a neighborhood bar on April the 11th, 1981, at about 11 p.m. and went back home to get ready for bed. She claimed to have awoke at 2 a.m. on April the 12th to discover the two consuming an unknown substance in the wood stove. She also claimed that Martin, quote, hated Johnny Sharp with a passion. Sheriff Doug Thomas claimed to have personally spoken with Martin and that he had passed a polygraph test in the 2008 documentary. It's worth noting, however, one, a polygraph test is not even admissible evidence in court, for one. And two, Martin was close friends with Sheriff Thomas.
Oh. Well, the
Well,
plot
well, well.
thickens.
Yeah.
Well, the plot thickens. Maybe your missing hammer didn't matter because you're friends with the person questioning you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, isn't that a conflict of interest?
I was thinking that, but who am I to judge? Just kidding. That's literally my full-time hobby. Give me things to judge.
100%. Yeah, Martin's looking a little bit suspicious on that one.
He's looking a little sus,
Looking a little sus.
There's no good things for Martin and his missing hammer and his friendship with the sheriff.
Um, so if you thought that chestnut was was good, oh, you wait until you hear this, Carly and listeners. This is a doozy. The Sacramento Bee reported in 2006 that immediately after the killings, Martin had left Keddie and drove to Reno, Nevada.
Oh, that's also not suspicious at all. Just,
No.
goodbye, I'm leaving for Nevada now. I know that people were just murdered and I was questioned. Bye.
Yeah. But if you enjoyed that, then you're going to love this. From Reno, Nevada, he would write Marilyn a letter in which he reflected on their personal problems and said, quote, "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives."
Oh, I'm sorry. That's written down. That's a handwritten letter.
That's a handwritten letter. That's a handwritten letter that...
She was in possession of?
Oh, no. So that's a handwritten letter that was missed in the preliminary investigation and was never admitted as evidence.
Oh my God. What? on. I didn't think that it could get any worse. That's literally a letter. I paid the price. I
Yeah,
borne the price of your love. Okay, my guy, you
yeah.
sound like a real shitbag.
Oh god, absolutely, absolutely.
You go on. You go on that documentary. I hope you got paid for it, girl.
Yes. Also, as stated earlier in the episode, as a little cherry on top of this just shit Sunday of very, very bad policing. The tape of the anonymous tip regarding Tina was found in case files, sealed case files, untouched by Plumas County Sheriff's Department until 2013, when the case was reopened with new investigators, Greg Hagwood and Mike Gamberg. So, yeah, we mentioned that earlier, but I just wanted to throw that in there again. So, later, the initial investigation's caliber would be questioned, with the new investigators claiming, quote, you could take someone just coming out of the academy and they would have done a better job.
I mean, I 100% agree with
Yeah,
that. I am not
absolutely.
I am not a police official. I have 0 training, but I've watched enough true crime that I am convinced that I could do a better job than they have done on this, and that should say something because you don't want me investigating anything. I'm ADHD as shit. If I think if I believe in my capabilities enough to say I could run that investigation better, then they should be embarrassed because
Deary
I
me,
mean,
honestly,
wow.
honestly. Um, every like true crime fan, or other true crime podcast that is listening to this is literally like given themselves a concussion because all they've done this entire episode is bang their head against the wall.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I feel internally. Like, what the fuck? After one after another. First, the murder was like, murder is
Yeah,
terrible, just disgusting. And
yeah,
then officers.
yeah, exactly. Um, Also, side note, if you have concussed yourself by banging your head into the wall, I'm not claiming responsibility for that. I'm sorry. I don't have the money to pay for your hospital bills, unfortunately.
Also, the same. I'm super broke. So,
So a counsellor whom Martin regularly visited also alleged that he had admitted to the murders of Sue and Tina, um, but claimed, quote, I didn't have anything to do with the boys. Um, as Tina had, quote, witnessed the whole thing, he allegedly informed the counsellor that she was murdered in order to keep her from recognizing him. Unsurprising. I was like, yeah, that's probably why Tina was killed, unfortunately.
yeah, if he was their neighbor.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
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 That would make an awkward sort of like neighborhood barbecue, wouldn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
that wouldn't.
Oh, remember how he killed like almost all of my family that one time? Ooh,
But
bummer.
Tina, look at these quarter pounders. Yeah, let's have some burgers. Whoop, whoop.
Can I get extra fries?
He goes and grabs the hammer. He's like, extra fries. Oh
Extra
dear.
what, Tina?
Yeah. So in June 2000, Martin Smart would unfortunately pass away in Portland, Oregon, from cancer. John Bubede. I think I still butchered that, but I'm going with Bubede. That's
Sounded like boobies that time, and I was here for it.
So yes, old John, who is said to have been connected to organized crime in Chicago, of all things, would pass away there in 1988. Um, so on March the 24th, 2016, Plumas County Special Investigator Mike Gamberg found a hammer in a nearby pond that matched the description of the hammer that Martin claimed to have lost, and would
How
take it in.
handy.
I know, right? As evidence. Um, the sheriff, county sheriff, Hagwood, who was 16 years old at the time of the murders and knew the Sharp family personally, stated, quote, the location it was found, it would have been intentionally put there. it would not have been accidentally misplaced. Yeah,
What
that
do you think about that,
seems
Martin?
pretty true.
How did this get here in the lake where you misplaced it?
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
that must have been a very detailed hammer report to be able to recognize it after it had been in the water, because it probably would have been all rusty and shit, like,
Yeah,
you know? And did
yeah,
we have more details about Martin's supposed lost hammer than actual evidence collected at the crime scene? Because it seems like
yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Like, and um, obviously, when I put this up on YouTube, I'll sort of splice in photos. But the hammer, I've seen a photo of the hammer because obviously I looked it up when I originally did this episode, um, and it was rusty as fuck. So I don't know how they got anything from it.
I know what this hammer is. This is Martin's
This is
hammer.
Martin's hammer.
Well, good for the person that found it.
Yes.
You know, again, shakes head at law enforcement
Yeah,
in
exactly.
this case. 'Cause
100%. 100%. Um, so, uh, Gamberg also stated that at the time, 6 potential suspects were being looked at. He also stated in 2018 that DNA evidence recovered from a piece of tape at the crime scene actually matched that of a known living suspect. Um, so that throws a bit of a spanner into the
That
works.
does. That does.
It does. Um, so while the case does remain unsolved, there is one prevailing theory, and it's kind of juicy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. You ready, Carly? You ready to hear this
I
juicy
am
theory?
ready. I love a good juicy theory, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm living for this.
Um, it's a bit juicy, guys. I'm even saying this right into the camera. It's a bit juicy. Um, The most widely accepted theory involves a love triangle between Martin, Marilyn, and Sue. Um,
Yes. A
dun,
love
dun,
affair.
dun.
Oh, a love affair that ends in murder.
Oh, I like it. So Sue was allegedly coaching Marilyn to leave her husband, who she had claimed was abusive to her. Um, However, it was believed that Martin and Sue were actually having an affair. Um,
Snap.
right.
He just wanted to get dicked down, and his wife was getting in the way. I mean, you know,
um, when Martin did learn of this, he asked Bo, a friend and well-known mafia enforcer. There you go.
there's
Um,
another mafia tie. That's
right.
scary.
Um, who had moved in with the Smart family just 10 days before the Keddie killings to, quote, remove Sue from the picture.
Wow. The
Right.
mafia hit. This escalated quickly. I mean, I know it ends in horrific murder, but wow, mafia hit.
Yeah. Um, so obviously this would explain Marilyn's separation from her husband on the day the murder was discovered. Additionally, it would also explain why the child from Smart and the other Sharp boys from the adjacent room were left entirely unharmed. It also provides background for the note that Martin wrote and Marilyn gave to the Plumas Sheriff's Department. So, yes, in answer to your earlier question, Carly, she did indeed give that note to the police. They just didn't bother to actually do anything with it.
Wow. Wow. It's almost like this could have been solved years ago.
Right?
And that's wild.
It's
Oh my
unbelievable.
goodness.
Unbelievable. Some detectives who took up the investigation when it was revived in 2013 linked the murders to an even bigger scheme. To Gamberg, it is clear that the Department of Justice and the Thomas Run Sheriff's Department, quote, covered it up, is the way it sounds. Yeah, it does sound like It does absolutely reek of a cover-up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely reek of a cover-up.
To bottom. This is not, it doesn't look good for anyone involved in this case.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely not. He asserts that Bo and Martin were part of a broader, federally involved narcotics trafficking enterprise.
Mm.
Bo, as we said, was associated with Chicago crime syndicates. Definitely the Chicago crime family. I don't know if there was any others he was involved in, but he was part of the Chicago mob. Like, I think that is pretty clear. That had financial stakes in the trafficking of drugs, and Martin was a well-known drug dealer. This may help to explain why, rather than sending homicide department agents, the Sacramento Department of Justice sent 2 allegedly dishonest organized crime special agents. It also
Oh,
explains
my
why.
God.
It also explains why Sheriff Thomas instructed the 2 main suspects to conveniently leave town and appeared to grant them a complete pass.
Wow.
Yikes. Oh.
Wow. Wow. I just feel like that can't be emphasized enough. Wow.
Yeah. 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 100%. Like, it's just, that was like 3 separate, just, well, what the fuck is going on here
Yeah,
things?
just like in a row, in a row. I'm sorry. What? Over and over again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Um, so despite the fact that Bo and Martin are now both dead, fresh DNA evidence has led detectives to other people who may have been involved in the killings and who are still alive. The
Were
fact,
they actually involved or was that cross contaminated as fuck? That's what I'd like to know.
I mean, yeah, it was probably,
It would be great if they were still alive and could be caught. I'm
yeah.
not saying that would be great.
I know what you mean, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was some contamination. The fact that new evidence gives light on what might have happened at Cabin 28 in Keddie, California, means that this crime may not be a cold case after all.
Dun
Uh,
dun dun.
dun, dun, dun. And that is the unsolved case of the Keddie Cabin murders. I think I know the answer to this, Carly. Um, our man Martin, he seems pretty suspicious. I can't
Oh
say
yeah.
if I can't say if it is him or not, but if you had to say yes or no, what would you go with?
I would say yes to Martin. Like, is this circumstantial? Yeah. Could there be explanations? Yeah. But also, come on, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I would say yes. I can't believe he wasn't questioned more, just like across the board.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How? How? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would yes immediately. If I was on that jury, I would vote to convict. Whew.
And it's like, obviously I would be like, yeah, it was him. Like you said, it's circumstantial evidence, but um, you know, it only has to be um oh what's the phrase? It only has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Um
Yep.
so I think
There's lo-
there is
there's lots of reasons
a
to think
lot
he
of
did.
reasons to think that he did it.
There's
So
Yep. Yeah, wow. Well done. That was terrible. I loved it.
that's the kind of feedback I want from people. I want people to be like, that was fucking atrocious, but I
That
loved
was
it. I love
terrible. I loved it. What a horrible story.
um
Oh, so good.
and have you ever seen so much just a mixture of shit police work and no police work?
It truly is
That was
wild. Oh my gosh. This case should have been huge and I should have had every man on deck working to solve it.
yeah,
And yet, how? Nope.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Just conflicts of interest, like stuff that just wasn't being done, stuff that just gets missed, and like stuff that you're like, how is it
It
even possible
oh,
to miss that? Yeah.
how is it possible to miss that? Also, how was it possible to make, like, every single wrong choice that entire step of the way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That take that takes some special kind of skill to do that.
absolutely, absolutely. Cool. So, before we wrap up, Carly, would you like to let the lovely people know where they can find you on socials and where they can find your book and all of that good stuff?
Yes. You can follow me at Carly, Karly Latham on all platforms. I'm not really on Facebook, but you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You know, look for me. I'm there. But I would love it if you enjoy psychological spicy thrillers,
Yes.
um,
Don't forget the
buy my book.
spicy.
Don't
Don't
forget the
forget the
spicy.
spicy.
The spice is the stuff of life, and it is contained in my book. A delicate balance of terror and spice, and I'm very proud of it. It's called A Collection of Eyes, and it's available on Amazon. And the anthology that I helped put together is also going to be on Amazon on September 18th. So
Ooh.
please keep your eyes out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, as for me, as always, if you enjoy what me and Amy do, then there are ways that you can support us. You can follow us on Instagram at horrorhouse_pod. Can follow us on your podcast app of choice as well. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got a nice little community over there on YouTube. And if you haven't joined, please do. You get to see mine and Amy's lovely faces. If you want to support us financially, there is the Buy Me a Coffee link. We are, and we will always be, struggling content creators that would be forever grateful if you could buy us 1 coffee or 2 coffees, or if you're feeling very generous, 10 coffees. Granted, that's still not going to be a massive amount, but Amy loves coffee. So if you bought Amy 10 coffees, I think that she would love you forever.
She'd be thrilled.
She would be absolutely delighted. But yeah, if you want to support us financially, Buy Me a Coffee is a great way to do it. It's a one-time donation. It's not a monthly subscription. You can just throw us a coffee, which is like £3, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Happy days. Carly, thank you for coming on. It has been
Anytime.
an absolute blast. I'm glad that you liked our disgusting, just mind-boggling, headache-inducing, stressful episode. But it's been a blast to record, as always. Thank you for coming on again.
Anytime. Anytime you need someone to wildly judge what's happening in your girl.
Please follow Carly on Instagram, buy her book, support her. She is a lovely lady, so give her all the love that she deserves.
Please.
And now, all that's left to say from me until next time is, as always, stay spooky.